My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yeah.
The weird and wonderful world of Rust. Well, today I'm going to tell you the story of Rust. The inspiration, how quickly it got made, and how it became an instant hit. How the game evolved from zombies to something quite different. Why people love it, and where it's at now. But before all that, let me tell you about Gary's response to the first video. After I posted the first part of this documentary on Reddit, he replied to clarify what exactly happened with regards to JB mod. And if you don't know what that is, go check out the first part. When people say, and I'm quoting him here, when people say I stole the source code, they're describing it like I hacked into JB, downloaded the code, changed it and put my name on it. That never happened. Everything in JB mod was in the source development kit. If I remember right, JB released the source code to his mod. Then the people at H2 World who had claimed ownership tried to take the code down by sending DMCAs to the places it was hosted. I thought that was an abuse of the DMCA and they had no right to do that, so I hosted it too. To be clear, the source code itself was nothing. It was the source development kit with a few files included. So there it is. If you haven't seen the first part of the documentary and you don't know what that's referring to, go and take a look. Now, on to the inspiration that led to Rust. Gary himself says that Rust first started off as a DayZ clone, and he makes no attempt to hide this. In fact, the game even started off with zombies, which were later taken out. But without the engine, resources, buildings or maps from Armor, which DayZ ran on, Facepunch, which is Gary's studio, decided it'd be better to let the players build their own worlds. The result was a blend of the survival of DayZ, the radiation from Stalker, and the base building of Minecraft. It was instantly popular. The alpha was released for free on 14th of June 2013 and quickly picked up a huge number of players, even though it wasn't on Steam. It took them completely by surprise. The lead developer, who's called Helk, casually put the alpha out with a post on Reddit, and then went on vacation. Quickly taking advantage of the media cover that followed, however, Facepunch soon got Rust on Steam. It sold 150,000 copies in its first 2 weeks, and 1 million within just 2 months, netting Gary and Facepunch a cool $30 million US, which is all the more impressive given how fast it was made. It took 3 people just 4 months to take the game from concept to launch. At the time, there were 20 people working at Facepunch, with 14 of them based in Gary's hometown of Walsall, which is just outside of Birmingham, England. First they were working on a game called Cash for Kills, which is a kind of sandboxy version of the Hitman series, but where you actually had to be in a certain place in real time to be able to assassinate your target. Ultimately, however, Gary thought Cash for Kills didn't have legs, so he killed the project. But they had the engine, so they reused it to create Rust. Structured much like Valve, in that there isn't much structure, each employee at Facepunch is allowed to pursue their own projects. So it was mostly developed by Helk, the Canadian project team lead, whose real name is Maurino Berry. So spawning completely naked, balls and all, which was, incidentally, Gary's idea, players were dropped into a completely empty environment. They're surrounded by zombies out for their blood, and you could get loot if you could survive the radiation. Because players build it, each server is completely different. So even though the map stays the same, joining a new server is like entering a different world. Just like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. And then, inexplicably, given how popular the zombie survival game already was, they decided to swap out all the zombies for bears and wolves. And Gary didn't really give much in the way of explanation, simply saying, "We came to the conclusion that we were sick of zombies, and after taking a look at the game decided that we didn't even need them, because there were already enough ways to die." So why do people love it? Bears and wolves chase and kill you. Falling from a height kills you. Radiation kills you. Starving kills you. Being cold kills you. And that's before you've even met another player, who'll probably kill you. Gary puts it down to freedom. He says he's had plenty of calls for point systems, so that players can see how good or bad other people have been acting, or something that discourages player versus player combat. But he's rejected the lot because it reduces the freedom. As he says in his own words, the players should decide how they play the game. You should be fearful of others. That's the whole point. This is a game where the player makes their own story, and emotion plays into it a lot. If you see another guy in game, you're going to be scared of him at first. But then you kind of sniff around each other and decide to go on an adventure together. You begin to trust each other. And that means so much more if you both had the ability to kill the other at any time and didn't. You weren't just doing it for a green point. So what's to stop you from going around killing anyone you want and taking their shit and becoming more powerful? Nothing, he says. What's stopping it from becoming a PvP kill fest? You. Our job, as developers, should be to give the players the tools they need. If you're sick of being killed, start a town. Build town walls. So how does the future look? For Facepunch, it looks bright. No one knows just how much money they've made so far from Rust, but it's probably upwards of $50 million US. And apparently they have 4 other projects in the pipeline. And for Rust, well, the game's actually undergoing a complete redesign that'll have it running on the Unity 5 engine. Better graphics, better performance, better features. And for Gary, well, since the release of Rust, he says that, in his words, as a fat, lazy game developer, he's managed to put on weight even though he doesn't manage to actually play games much himself. And he calls that a failure. But, given that he's now also become father to Alex, a beautiful baby boy, bought another house, and is now, again in his own words, rich as fuck, I'd say he's doing just fine.
Oh, fuck.
Whoever wins gets a prize.
Go on, you can do this.
You can do it. You got this. It's fine. To your right there, to your right, to your right there, to your right!
Oh, fuck. Fuck.
Oh shit. Nice one.